Welcome back to Count Me In, the podcast that looks at business issues and trends from the management accountant's perspective. Today we are speaking with John Greene, the CFO of Discover Financial Services, the company behind the Discover credit card and the television ads with the catchy tagline, "We treat you like you treat you." I'm sure you've heard the term financial transformation before, which is basically the process of bringing digital tools and technologies to the finance team inside organizations. Today we are going to look at how that process actually works at Discover and why it's critical to strike the right balance between driving innovation and making sure team members feel empowered along the way. Let's get started. So John, I just really want to thank you for coming on the podcast today. It's really a pleasure to have you on. And today our focus is going to be around finance and innovation and how those two connect together. And so as we start off, I just want to ask, what are your guiding principles when it comes to finance and innovation and how they connect?
Great. Adam, great to be here. So, my guiding principles are, first, we want to make sure we have the right people in the right sort of jobs. So by that, I mean people with the right skill set, the right values, high level of integrity that are working towards a common mission, which would be to kind of benefit our customers and the organization and the financial outcomes that we're seeking. So that's really, really important, and being able to connect the organization mission to individual objectives, really, really important, both from an innovation standpoint as well as from a team building standpoint. And then the second guiding principle would be to ensure we have the right organization design and the right structure to make people successful. So that includes having the right level of technology, the right mission, the right focus on innovation, in order to have people feel like they're empowered to be able to make the changes that we're seeking to drive within the organization.
But then when you look at innovation from an organizational perspective, is there like a definition of what counts as innovation? And then what does that look like for each employee?
Yeah, so for me, innovation is a really, really broad concept. It can be as simple as changing the way we do something on a day-to-day basis, which would be innovative, or it can be leveraging technology in an entirely different way, or leveraging new technology to drive innovation. So, a couple of examples of kind of changing the way we've done things here at Discover without the benefit of technology would be, our journal entry process. So we were doing almost 2,000 journal entries a month every time we closed the books, and through some process redesign, some change of policies, as well as taking a different look at how we focused on certain accounts, we reduced the number of journal entries we did on a monthly basis by about 40%. So think about it. That is 400 entries that someone doesn't have to kind of put together, get the backup, file, and then review. So without technology, a high degree of innovation there in terms of process redesign. We did the same sort of thing with our FP&A processes. So think budgeting and forecasting. We took a look at what was important for the organization, how timely we needed updates on where the company was going financially, and we eliminated 1/3 of the forecasts we were doing. So we went down from 6 to 4. What it did is it freed up capacity to spend time on analytics. Now, there are two examples that involved process redesign, not necessarily technology. Now, we've deployed RPA, so we call them bots here in Discover, and that has also enabled us to further reduce journal entries. It has also taken manual work out of a number of different areas within the finance organization. So that's been a win. And on top of it, we we switched out from an old McCormick and Dodge general ledger system and just implemented Oracle Cloud here. We put it in about a year and a half. It went in, frankly, in a really, really smooth way, on time, under budget. But what that's enabled us to do is take out nearly half the cost centers we have here. So the combination of kind of process redesign and leveraging technology and new technology, we've really changed the way we work, and we freed up significant amount of time to analyze the business rather than tell the business or report on what has happened in the business.
So as you've freed up that time to analyze, have you already been seeing the benefits from even team morale being able to change their job description of, hey, I'm going to stop these 400 journal entries to analyzing something else? Has that improved even just employees as they get to do new things?
Yes, actually. So, change can be, harder on some people than others. And so what we've tried to do here is focus on a culture of creating positive change that will improve analytics and efficiency without the risk of job loss. So in the situation we're in right now, we have a level of normalized turnover, just like every organization does. And we've been able to absorb that turnover, redesign, people's kind of responsibilities or organizations without impacting kind of employment in a negative way. By that, I mean, we haven't had wholesale layoffs or reductions. What we've done is enrich people's jobs by taking out what I'll say is more transactional or non-value work. And, that's translated into some positive results on our engagement surveys. And I feel like it's really been beneficial in terms of motivating some folks as we've been able to expand job responsibilities.
That's amazing to hear that's the initiative you've taken. I'm sure the employees appreciate it, but it's also an innovative way of looking at the human capital and investing in them as opposed to just slashing them and saying, well, we need to get rid of them. Yeah.
And, that lot of credit for that is to the organization in the entirety. So Discover spent decades trying to create the right balance of financial performance and culture. And the folks that come here, I think, have enjoyed that aspect of the culture in terms of trying to create an atmosphere that operates with as little bias as possible, that values innovation, that it values change, but also respects kind of human capital and tries to create the best experience for our teams.
So you've been talking about the great improvements and innovations that have happened through technology and other ways that have helped the journal ledgers and using RPAs and bots. But what changes have you noticed in your responsibilities and expectations, especially during these last 2 years with COVID?
Yeah, so great question. So the core responsibilities haven't changed really, but what has changed is the focus points, right? So when the pandemic hit, our responsibility collectively here as leaders was to first ensure people were safe. Second was to make sure that we created a work environment, a remote work environment that allowed us to get our core responsibilities done. And then it certainly evolved to, okay, can we close the books? Can we execute on our public disclosures and earnings calls? And while doing that, also making sure we have plenty of capital, liquidity, and our credit. So we're a lender. So when we lend money, we want to make sure we collect it or within our risk tolerances. So we spent a lot of time focusing on that, and our finance organization was instrumental in terms of helping the business evaluate kind of the trajectory of the credit portfolio, the trajectory of our our liquidity and capital. And then also, really importantly, focusing on at that point, controlling expenses, given there was so much uncertainty. Then as we came out of the pandemic, really the focus changed. So the focus turned to, okay, how can we grow profitably? Where can we invest? Where can we allocate expense dollars in order to get the best return for our shareholders? And that evolution, the ability to pivot from kind of one focus area to another at the right time, really, really important. So there's a saying, you want to go to where the puck will be, not where the puck is. And so for hockey fans, they'll appreciate that comment. But certainly being able to anticipate and get to the right spot timely so that we make good decisions and we execute strongly really has been a focus point for our leadership team and the finance organization as a whole.
And it seems like the innovative changes that you've discussed earlier have a big effect on being able to meet those needs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've become much more effective as a finance organization, leveraging technology and innovation. I feel like we've become a improved business partner to the organization that was, a key contributor to Discover delivering record results in 2021. Now, 2022 looks to be a really positive year as well. And my hope is that we'll continue that strong execution to allow the business to continue to grow profitably.
Definitely. So just before we close, I was just thinking about, as you're working through process improvements and, innovation within finance, helping the team see the big picture can be difficult. Can you maybe give some insight of what it was like as you were going through these innovative process improvements, what it was like to help the team stay on task and get on board as change is difficult, as we've mentioned?
Yeah, so really good question. So, for me, the first bit is to make sure that the organization's strategy is well communicated so that we can connect it to some aspect of every single person's job within the finance organization. So we spend a lot of time in terms of communicating kind of what's important for the organization in the aggregate, and then how does that translate into people's jobs. We also, as a finance leadership team, launched what we call the Discover Finance and Corporate Services success traits. And that launch of that, which I'll explain in a minute, was to give our teams the tools to be able to continue to execute and support the business. So the success traits, as we define them, are critical thinking. So analytical thinking and an honest approach to analysis. And by that, we mean, looking at the facts, not necessarily judgments, but lay out the facts, and then using those facts to make judgments, really, really important. The second aspect, which I touched on briefly, was communication. So being able to communicate with influence in order to ensure that when decisions are made, they're made free of bias and based on actions that will help us deliver on our strategic objectives. There's also an element which is coaching and providing feedback with the right level of empathy and specificity so that our teams learn from what they've done well and what they can do better. And then a core component also is driving digital ambition. So embracing technology, embracing concepts of continued improvement, improving insights and analytics through leveraging technology, and propose solutions that'll help deliver kind of new tools and new capabilities to the organization. And then the last two, I won't go into detail on these, are relationship and team building, really, really important so that we're effective as an organization. And then lastly, execution. So being clear on what you're trying to do and then execute in a way that is skilled to get the best outcomes.
This has been Count Me In, IMA's podcast, providing you with the latest perspectives of thought leaders from the accounting and finance profession. If you like what you heard and you'd like to be counted in for more relevant accounting and finance education, visit IMA's website at www.imanet.org.